midst of Africa going through its biggest revolution, we're the most disconnected from that storyline. So I believe it's a psyop, right? I believe that there's an aspect in identifiers, right, that is key. But then there's the aspect that the enemy is utilizing that against us.
So Tariq Nasheed, come holler at us. Because you the face of that movement, that whole tether and all that. We need to get down to that.
And I talked to Tariq about
nigga?
that, actually.
Because a lot of these niggas controlled opposition, and I'm starting to wonder about a lot of...
Well, everybody's been going in on 19 Keys, because 19 Keys, you know, he came out, he made those statements about Tariq. Instead of just calling Tariq on the phone and having a conversation, that we know that he's went over to Ghana. He has this coffee business and he's doing his thing, right? And one might have to ask the question, okay, you're doing your thing in Ghana, and now, like, you know, you're turning around and you're talking down on foundational Black Americans as if, and you're making it seem like with your platform, there's just, we just hate Africans and we just spreading hate, where you know good and well, coming from Oakland, that Africans say a lot of bad things about us as well. There's a lot of undesirable things, and they come and they spew a lot of W supremacist stuff where they say, stay away from us, we're uncultured, don't marry us. How come y'all never ever talk about that? Well, you're not going to do it because you're doing business with them. But the difference is you're doing business with them that benefits you. It don't benefit the community. It benefits you, the individual. So again, you're operating as an individual, not as a collective group. That's why you can separate yourself from the group and just call us out, right? And a lot of you guys that go over there to do business with Africa, you do business for yourselves. When China does business with Africa or these other nations, they do business to extract resources to bring it back to their country, to develop their countries. You doing business with them is not developing us, it's developing you and it's helping them. But let's listen to some of the stuff that he was saying.
Black Business Conference in the UK. I did it in Birmingham, London, or Birmingham, UK. Then I did one in London, UK. I did the first financial literacy conference in Bermuda in their history. We set that one off. That was amazing, right? I was across the world, right? Done conferences in Dubai, in front of the pyramids in Egypt, in East Africa, and South Africa, right? I've literally spoken in Canada, anywhere you can name it. So I do global business as a global entrepreneur, right? People appreciate it everywhere I go. The problem is when I get to talking about one specific continent, Black people in America get caught up, and not everybody, it's a very small percentage, right? But I was looking at something online that'll put this in context. You know that they call this thing this Jerry Springer triangle. For those who grew up in the 90s and watched Jerry Springer.
So he said Black people in America, but then he's referring to us as the Jerry Springer triangle. But he's not actually saying foundational Black Americans, but we know what he's saying, right? But this is where the disrespect come in at. Now, mind you, he reached out to Tariq and he was on a hit and cover series, right? But again, I'm gonna get into it.
Things of that nature, right? His content was the most divisive. It was the most negative content that you can get on TV. Now, it made America seem crazy because you would think that everybody was going through this. But what happened was there was a small triangle of people that he was actually pulling from, right? Kentucky, Virginia, all of these places. And that represents 70% of his guests. 70% of his guests came from the same area. But nobody knew that. It made it look like these were guests from all over America, but it wasn't. He was pulling people from these white trash places. He was pulling people from these low impoverished places. And it made it seem like this polarizing view, right, of...
Now, mind you, when he referenced this, he started off saying the Black community. Then he went into this Jerry Springer reference, but he's talking about us. I listen well, bro.
American life was a reality when it was literally taking 70% of all his guests coming from one small triangle in the United States. So I know that the perspective of the people that are the loudest is not the perspective of the people right in the world. It's the 1% of people that often get loud. But these people sometimes get loud enough to throw negativity that actually has no logic to it, right? Because if you don't plan on doing any business globally, then a conversation for you is not there at all. It's actually a very niche conversation for people who would actually be valuable. Africans are not over there waiting for saviors. I mean, the people that will do business with you, they don't care who you are. They're not saying, oh, Black American, come save me. No, they want.
And see, why does he have to throw Black Americans under the bus to talk down to Black Americans to justify why he want to do business in Africa? He didn't even have to mention us. Just do business in Africa. We know that you don't care nothing about the collective of the Black community. Just go do business. Why is all this necessary from him? My whole thing is why. Listen, y'all saw the video when he was talking about us being indigenous. These dudes are grifters, right? They always come on here and try to portray themselves to be something, right? So now you're doing this for you. Now all of a sudden we ain't indigenous. Now all of a sudden we're the problems. How come we're always the problems whenever these Pan-Africans are out trying to do something? It's always us that's the problem.
Want people of actual value, influence, power, intelligence, right? The mindset, absolutely, but not everybody. So it doesn't make sense for you to get mad at this conversation, and I'm not sure what narrative that you're actually running off of, right? Indian man goes over there and does business. I was talking to them, and they running all kind of businesses, fruit businesses, mineral businesses, and they doing crazy exchange, and they making millions and millions of building wealth for their family. The Jewish man over there is deeply entrusted to the infrastructure of the politics, infrastructure of the business, the media, right? I did an interview at this media company.
So now he's referencing the small hats. So let me say this for a second to the people out there. Let me say this to you people. We have tried to do international travel with Africans. First of all, during colonial times, these people were under the rule of the colonists. They wasn't allowing that. They was putting all kinds of things, mechanisms in place to stop it from happening, right? Import, export, raising the prices on so many different, like, listen to me. He's not saying nothing that's new or trying to reinvent the wheel. Right, we have people here that was generations way before us that had the same conversations that tried to do these things. Now, when you go there, there's a lot of gatekeeping, there's a lot of scamming, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of money that it takes to get things into certain African countries to move it up, just to send it to African countries. So, like, miss me with this foolishness, man. Because now he has his coffee thing that he's doing in Uganda. All of a sudden, we got to be the problem. He got to throw us under the bus. But let's listen to some more.
Who comes out, this white man walking out, he owns the company. You understand me? You look at the hotels. There's an Indian man that ran the hotel that I stayed at that resort. When you go look at who's making the machinery, the Chinese man is making the machinery. He has a lot of soft influence deeply embedded into that. Who's giving them their weapons? The white man, the U.S. American, is giving them their weapons so they can be a stabilizer in that region. They're doing business. The only person I'm not seeing doing business over there is us. Now, maybe you can break this down in some thesis and tell me, how do we benefit by not doing business with things that will allow us to build generational wealth on the youngest content?
And this is disingenuous from him. He knows why we're not over there. He knows the miseducation and so many different reasons as to why we're not doing business with Africa. And he knows that there was mechanisms set in place for us not to do business, because you have to keep those countries destabilized and you have to keep us destabilized. We have a whole history behind this. These people are grifters. My whole thing is, where your family at? Like, do you have a wife, children? Like, what are you leading with? Are you just these people, man? This stuff, these people are just so much. And I like this. I at one point liked this brother, man, but I don't like this video. This is so disingenuous, because he could have talked to get his point across without throwing us under the bus like that, knowing our history as to why a lot of our people are not over there doing business. We don't have to be African. We can do business, but those other nations have nations behind them, and they have nations that speak for them, and they're in those countries on nation business. You over there doing business. So many of our people that went over there and got scammed. There's a lot of our people that's already over there doing business. So why you have to talk down to our people the same way the W man do, that you accusing of destabilizing the country? Look how you talking to us right now.
In the world that everybody else is seeing as the future. Now, who made this hot conversation? Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey talking about Africa is the future. I'm going over there in Africa. Everybody got their eyes over there wanting to build. The problem is that Africans don't want to be colonized once again. They would rather do business with their brother if they can establish a brotherhood. Now, I'm not saying that we all come from Africa. I don't go over there like a lost puppy looking for myself. I go over there as an American. I go over there as a man knowing myself, and then building based on the value that I have within. and the things that I have that are tangible that I can provide as a service, right? So I'm looking to be as a global diaspora consultant, an ambassador, right? Doing high level business. Because what was it? Rwanda got hot because they reached out to an American company called McKinsey and they paid them hundreds of millions of dollars to help them run the campaign. Now they could have came over here and gave me them dollars. You feel me? I would have ran that campaign, benefited Black America and them all at the same time. A man named Diallo went over there to Ghana, and he's the one who curated the narrative about the return. And now Ghana is making billions of dollars, raw influence, but no equity. Now, don't get me wrong. I went over there. He has massive real estate, massive influence, and he's making massive money bringing people in. Do not hate on that man's business. So, again, I don't think Africa will rise without the diaspora, and I don't think the diaspora will rise without Africa. Why? Because if we look between AI and Africa, these are the biggest opportunities of the future. So, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some patience, because doing business on the continent is a completely different type of doing business, I will say. Now, that's all the time I have on my short ride.
And let me just say this, right? Let me just say this to the family out there, right? Listen, you go over to Africa, you can do business, but I don't like I don't like the tone of what he was talking about. You know what I mean? Referring to us as like the Jerry Springer people, right? Referring to us, you're going over there for things that's going to benefit you, right? The individual, not the group, right? You don't give a damn about the foundational Black Americans here because you refer to us as some Jerry Springer people. That's what you refer to us as. It's just weirdo stuff that a lot of these people do, and they grifters, right? Like you coming out of the Nation of Islam where they told you to do for self. The Nation of Islam said do for self. But when you go through communities like St. Louis, Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, right? All these places, Houston, the Dallas area, where you have large portions of Black people, you don't see no Nation of Islam stores. You don't see no Nation of Islam gas stations. You don't see none of the stuff that's associated with the Nation of Islam that told you to do for self, that taught Black people how to do business or do international business. You don't see none of that. Right? So a lot of our people have been miseducated over the years and don't have the knowledge of how to do things. And the Africans are also. So, and when you go over there, there's a lot of scamming, there's a lot of gatekeeping. So now you go there, but then when you hear us speaking, you talk down. Instead of saying, you could have came on here and made a video saying, hey, brothers, man, I'm over here doing business, man. I got my coffee thing going. Man, it's starting to be prosperous. I can show you how it's prosperous. I mean, and show you the steps that I've done. No, you came here and you talked about us hating on Africans and referring to us as a Jerry Springer group. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, a lot of you dudes, man, I ain't even, I'm not even gonna call you out your name and call you no names, right? Because I'm a 50-year-old Black man. I ain't got to do that. I'm just disappointed that you would make that type of video when you know the history of the foundational Black American. Right? I believe we should be doing business with Africa as well, the same way all other groups are. Absolutely. Right? From a business perspective, as FBAs to bring that money back to develop our own communities. I agree with you 100%. But it's funny how I can say it this way, but look at the way you said it. Right? Now I understand why you said with those other people, and you said you allowed them to say those disparaging things about Tariq and said that he's spreading hate. Right? Because you're doing business with the African, even though you know how they are towards us at times, right? But because you're doing business with them, you're not going to expose none of that. You're going to keep that under the hat, but you don't have no problem exposing us. That's disingenuous, my brother, man. But this is what I'm saying. Listen, that's just the way it is. Y'all gotta let me know what y'all think, but also check this out.
Some of the foundation of Black American movement, but you gotta understand, and this is what you all are missing. Because y'all act like y'all got a problem with Africans, and this is crazy. Because what you also gonna miss out is the opportunity to do business, right? It's a very simple, logical thing. All of the resources are in Africa. They're not in America. You can think about your ego can take you wherever you want to. Your ego is not the resource to build a nation. Your ego is not the resource that's going to change reality. No, you actually need resources and you need allies from all across.